The wife who wondered if she could leave her husband. If you're married, I want you to imagine something. Imagine writing to a magazine, not for recipes, not for knitting patterns, but because you honestly don't know if you're allowed to survive your own marriage. That's tonight's story. I didn't invent the title. I found it printed in tiny type at the back of a bound volume of The American Magazine, 1923. The Wife Who Wondered If She Could Leave Her Husband, page 412. No author, no teaser, just that sentence, like a bruise under the page numbers. So I went looking. The article wasn't in the table of contents. It was buried between an ad for a Hoover vacuum and a smiling couple selling a Happiness in 10 Lessons course. On page 412, I found it. A narrow gray column, almost swallowed by the binding. The Wife Who Wondered If She Could Leave Her Husband, as told in her own words. An editor's note at the top. The following letter was received from a reader. Some details have been changed to preserve anonymity. The letter itself was dated June 5th, 1922. I started reading. Dear Sir, I do not know the proper department for this sort of question. I only know that your magazine has often concerned itself with the happiness of the home, and so I hope you will permit a woman to speak plainly. I am 29 years old. I have been married 8 years. I have one child, a boy of 6. I am not writing to ask if I love my husband. I am writing to ask if I may be allowed to leave him while I am still alive to raise my son. Already she's not asking, should I? She's asking, may I? She describes him. My husband, Jay, is not a monster as people like to imagine. He gives no bruises that may be photographed. He has never struck me where others might see. If you were to meet him, you would say he is a quiet man, perhaps a serious one, and that I am fortunate to have a husband who does not drink and keeps a good ledger. But I have come to feel that I do not live in a house with a man. I live inside his opinion of me, and there is no door in it. She lists his rules like inventory. There are days when I may speak at breakfast and days when I may not, according to whether he has marked the calendar with a pencil. A line means silence. A circle means I may chatter. I must keep 3 notebooks, one for household accounts, one for improvements in my character, and one for thoughts not worth saying aloud, which he inspects on Sundays to be sure I have not written about him. I may go to church but not to choir. A woman who sings, he says, soon talks. I may visit my parents but only if I return before the noon whistle from the mill. He has arranged our lives like a railway timetable. If I am 5 minutes late, he does not shout. He simply stops speaking to me for 3 days, and the boy must not speak either because we are one flesh. I am allowed 1 book a month, chosen by him. In the margin he writes the page where I must stop in case the ideas become too large. If I finish my work early, I must sit where he can see me and sew. An idle woman, he says, invites the devil to tea. I sometimes wish he were right, for then at least there would be someone else to talk to. You can feel how small her world is, measured in pages, in minutes, in pencil marks. Then the letter's tone trembles. Last winter I began to have fainting spells. Once I dropped the soup tureen. Another time I woke on the cellar step with my hands still full of coal. Jay said it was nerves and that a good woman does not indulge them, but I insisted on seeing Dr. H, for I feared I might fall with the boy in my arms. Dr. H examined me and said my heart was sound enough, but that I was wearing thin from strain and lack of rest. He asked if the home was peaceable. Jay sat in the chair beside me and answered that we were very blessed. Later, when Jay stepped outside to speak with the clerk, Dr. H pressed a card into my hand. He whispered, "If you need to, you may come here alone." On the back, he had written the name of a lady who takes in boarders and the words, "You are permitted to live." That's the first time she sees it written anywhere, that she's allowed to exist outside of him. I have kept this card hidden in the hem of my Sunday dress for 4 months. Each week when I iron it, I touch the little ridge where the card lies, and I think, I might yet see my son grow to be a man who laughs. But there are sermons, and there are neighbors, and there is the law. The sermons say a wife must be long-suffering. The neighbors say a woman who leaves her husband is not fit to raise a child. The law, so far as I understand it, says my husband may claim the boy and keep the house, and I will be the one turned out. I do not ask whether I shall be lonely. I know I shall. I do not ask whether it is easy. I know it is not. I ask only this. Is there any honest road by which a woman may step out of a life that is killing her soul before it begins to kill her body as well? Or must she wait like a patient at a sickbed until the funeral gives her permission? If you print this, please change my name. Even if you do not answer, it has been a comfort to write these words somewhere Jay cannot see. Respectfully yours, M. That's where her letter ends. Underneath in smaller type is the magazine's response. The voice is formal, almost bloodless. It calls her our correspondent. It speaks of duty and prudence and consulting the proper authorities. It advises her to seek counsel, to consider her child, to pray. The words lie flat on the page like pressed flowers, carefully arranged, long dead. At the end of the reply, there's one more line. No emotion, just a sentence placed like a period on her life. We regret to say that by the time this reaches our readers, the writer of the above letter will have already passed beyond need of such counsel. No explanation, no cause, just the quiet announcement that somewhere between the writing and the printing, M died. I should have closed the book there, but something about that little column wouldn't let me. I turned the page, then turned it back, studying the gutter where the paper disappeared into the binding. There was a faint smudge along the edge, as if someone had rested a dirty thumb there again and again. I angled the book toward the light. Between the type and the spine, almost lost in the shadow of the fold, I saw it. A tiny, crooked mark in pencil. Not part of the printing. Handwritten. I had to press the page flat to read it. 3 words, cramped and hurried. She never came. That's all. No initials, no date. Just the suggestion that somewhere, someone was waiting for a knock on a side door, for footsteps on a boarding house stair, and those footsteps never arrived. Who wrote it? The landlady whose name was on the card? The doctor reading his own magazine months later? A stranger who recognized the story as their neighbor's life? Whoever it was, they believed M had intended to run, and that something or someone stopped her. There's no ghost in this story, no cursed object, no monster in the attic. Just a calendar with days you're allowed to speak, notebooks you're forced to keep about your own improvements, a card sewn into the hem of a dress like a smuggled passport. The horror here isn't that Jay might strike her, it's that he doesn't have to. The sermons, the neighbors, the law, even the editor's gentle, useless sympathy, they all lean in the same direction. Back toward the house. Back toward the man with the pencil. When you look at it like that, the real haunting isn't M, It's the system that read her letter, sighed, and then printed her question anyway, knowing she was already dead. We like to imagine we're far away from that world. We have different language now, boundaries, mental load, gaslighting. But in quiet rooms, on glowing screens, people still type the same question she wrote in ink. Am I allowed to leave if he's never hit me? They whisper it to search engines, to anonymous forums, to strangers whose names they'll never know. They wait for someone, somewhere, to answer the way Dr. H did in pencil. You are permitted to live. Sometimes they find that answer. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes, years later, someone skims past their words, feels a chill, and wonders why the story ends so abruptly. I can't find M's real name. I don't know whether her heart stopped on its own, or whether her husband helped it along, or whether she simply stood in the doorway with her suitcase packed and couldn't make her feet move. All I have is her question, pressed between advertisements and advice columns. All I have is that penciled note. She never came. So if you hear pieces of your own life and hers, if you live by someone else's calendar, someone else's opinion, if you have your own version of that hidden card, the someday plan no one is allowed to see, then listen, not to me, to the one person in her story who told the truth. You are permitted to live. Don't wait for a magazine to print your letter and eulogize you in a single sentence. Don't wait until people are arguing over what you should have done. If the house feels too quiet after this video ends, if you notice how carefully you listen for their footsteps in the hall, remember M. Remember the dress hem she never unpacked. Remember the boarding house where someone waited at the window and wrote with a shaking pencil, "She never came." And then ask, out loud, the questions she had to hide on page 412. Is there a road out? Because the real horror of her story isn't that no road existed. It's that she died still wondering if she was allowed to set foot on it.
Thank you for listening to The Storyteller's Moon. If this story touched you, scared you, or kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the stories alive, and I can't wait to share the next one with you under the moonlight. Until then, may your nights be safe and your dreams unforgettable.